why I think Marvel Rivals might not actually be killing Overwatch, but saving it. Before we get into how Marvel Rivals is saving Overwatch, we need to talk about the downfall of Overwatch first. For a long time, Overwatch was the staple of the hero shooter genre. Created after Team Fortress 2, but adding an entirely new element to the game style, it was the pinnacle of hero shooters. Released in 2016 by Blizzard Entertainment, Overwatch hit the mainstream, voted Game of the Year, and quickly establishing itself as a brand new, fast-paced game that allowed players to play with friends casually or grind the ranks in a highly competitive mode. As years progressed, many decisions were made as the game developed that led to a generally unhappy community in this once beloved game. 2022 came around, and things changed drastically. Overwatch 2. This release closed the original game and transferred player stats, ranks, and cosmetics to a new game on a new engine. This new game was now free to play, and the main team makeup that Overwatch was based on was changed from 6 players on each team to only 5, eliminating an entire tank spot on the game roster. New balancing changes came with this new team build, and many in the Overwatch community were not happy with this change. But many were. It solved a constant problem that haunted Overwatch throughout its time after it implemented 222 role queue. This issue was queue times. For some history, in the original release of Overwatch up until August of 2019, any player could select any hero out of the 20 plus heroes in the game. Though on initial release you could even have multiples of the same hero on the team, though this was changed to limit heroes to 1 per team early on. This open format never guaranteed a helpful team composition. When role queue was released, it solved the problem of potentially having 6 damage heroes on your team, forcing a minimum and a maximum to each role, 2 tanks, 2 DPS, and 2 support on each team. But another issue remained. Out of the roster of characters, a large majority were damage heroes, and the damage heroes were fun, diverse, and gave a high level of personal impact that an individual could have on a match. For example, instead of playing Mercy where your ultimate heals and damage boosts your allies as you fly, leaving the actual fighting still to your teammates, besides the dangerous battle Mercies out there, we see you. Or nanoing your teammate as Ana, giving them the damage and health to make impact, as a DPS you could be the person actually shooting the enemy. You got more choices for the characters, and you got to be the shooter in a hero shooter. Who doesn't want to feel like the main character? Because of the desirable gameplay of DPS heroes and the sheer amount of choices you had in characters, most people in the game leaned towards playing DPS. This caused very high queue times in competitive and quick play for a huge portion of the player base. This issue only increased as you climbed to higher ranks, with some high-level players in some cases waiting up to 30 minutes to find a match. 5v5 solved this daunting problem. With the lack of 1 tank required, you only needed to find 2 people queuing tank to create a match, leading to lower queue times overall. Mainly because tank was the least played role and still is in the game, lowering the threshold to 2 tank players helped immensely in lowering queue times for all players. Unfortunately, in many players' opinions, particularly a portion of legacy Overwatch players, this didn't improve gameplay. Other issues in the gaming community arose around this time as well. Mishandling of the Overwatch League, such as moving the esports streams from Twitch, where the majority of the Overwatch community resides, to YouTube, and public exposure of sexism and toxic work environments within Blizzard's development studios, and a removal of loot boxes and an introduction to a battle pass system and skin shop with high prices for recolored legacy skins, led to community discontent and decrease of support for Overwatch. The return of Overwatch Classic, how Overwatch was on release and now throughout its time previous to Overwatch 2, has revitalized a lot of people's interest and support for the game, but it hasn't healed the wounds that the community has been left with over recent years. In comes Marvel Rivals. This brand new third-person hero shooter hit the market in December of 2024, and it took the gaming community by storm. Having popular Marvel characters from the comics and the Marvel Cinematic Universe fight head-to-head in a 6v6 format, this game has a golden opportunity to carve out its own place in the hero shooter genre. With high damaging DPS, supports with powerful ultimates, and tanks with unique shielding abilities, not unlike what we've seen in Overwatch, Marvel Rivals felt like a breath of fresh air to many in the gaming community. But off in the corner, Overwatch sat. As many Overwatch players tried Marvel Rivals and enjoyed the new experiences of a brand new shooter, others continued with Overwatch as they had, not interested in a new game, but wanting the game they had spent years playing to see the type of support Marvel Rivals now had. And by all means, Marvel Rivals deserves the support. I've played over 100 hours of the game and I really like it, but as someone who has played Overwatch since 2016, it didn't feel like a good replacement. Not that it needed to be, many people have been enjoying both games for the past few months. Others who are like me have not. I don't hate Rivals, but I love Overwatch. It changed my life entirely, and I know it did for many of the players out there. But I don't love Overwatch 2. As an off-tank main in Overwatch, I feel like my place was removed in the game entirely. Yeah, I can still play tank, but with the sliver of the agency I used to be able to have in the game previous to 5v5. Some sentiments like mine went unheard and unwanted by the Overwatch developers for years. Until now, until Marvel Rivals. The competition in the hero shooter genre that Marvel Rivals has created in the last few months has flipped the genre on its head, and it affected Overwatch especially. People love Marvel Rivals. They love the insane, overpowered abilities and ultimates that plague the battlefields. Like, they have a shark that can eat an entire team like Kirby and throw himself off the map with them inside. And people love it. And hate it, naturally. Things this powerful and game-changing have scared the Overwatch devs as they meticulously comb over small details to characters' kits and give micro adjustments to assist the character's win rate and pick rate in low and high-level ranks. Marvel Rivals lets people run wild and chaotic, and have fun. You even get team-up bonuses in the game. If you have a Hulk and an Iron Man on the same team, Iron Man does insane amounts of damage. Each character has a team-up with somebody. These powerful ultimates and abilities aren't unbeatable though. Do you want to play as Rocket Raccoon and sit on your Groot's shoulders and shoot enemies? Go for it. Just don't get stunned, or you're knocked off. Do you want to be a Punisher and sit in a turret and blast the front line? Awesome. Just watch out for the invisible flanker behind you, or try shoot through an Invisible Woman ultimate where you can't see the enemies. If everything is overpowered, nothing is overpowered, right? Well, although not entirely, they have another aspect that assists in balancing things. Hero bans. Something that Overwatch played with years ago, but never continued with and didn't implement in the same way that Marvel Rivals has. Until now. See, the thing is, Marvel Rivals allows players to be overpowered, and yeah, sometimes it sucks getting stomped, and hero bans do only exist in the higher level ranked play, leaving the lower ranks to be subjected to annoying compositions and not being able to prevent experiencing the same thing the following game. But it does allow lower ranked players to play the character they prefer without fear of it getting banned, which is a more palatable experience for the average player. While high ranked players have the chance of their main character getting banned, they have the ability to remove those annoying compositions that are extremely difficult to counter when played by players of that particular skill level. Marvel Rivals also allowed 6 players on each team, giving a more dynamic playing experience than 5v5 normally allows. And they did all of this with no role queue. Though there is some want in the Marvel Rivals community to have a role queue, it has yet to come into the game. Despite all of this, people enjoy the game, and have been playing it consistently since release. The content creation side of Marvel Rivals is growing and thriving. And on the side, Overwatch sits. Many regular and competitive players are still playing and enjoying the game, but are watching things that they have asked for in Overwatch be implemented and experimented with in another game. Hero bans, 66, ability team-ups or kit upgrades, new characters and maps every season, new skins in the shop that aren't just recolors of legacy skins with a hefty price tag, all happening in another game. Until now. With the recent release of Overwatch 2 Spotlight, new players and legacy players alike have been given a glimmer of hope for Overwatch. Although experimental, we are getting a 6v6 competitive mode. We're also getting hero ability upgrades, 2 new hero announcements, map reworks, and 2 new map announcements, and even hero bans. Marvel Rivals put a fire behind Overwatch developers, and it is amazing. We get to see how the new Overwatch 2 characters exist in 6v6. Ramattra and Reinhardt in a Juno ring sounds terrifying. And amazing. Why? Because it's new, and it's overpowered as fuck. Though I don't believe all of these changes happening to Overwatch are copy-pasted from or are only being pushed into creation because of Marvel Rivals, I do believe that Overwatch developers were more eager to have these new additions come to the game sooner due to the lower player numbers and the dip in popularity that Overwatch has seen recently. The new complexity that some of these changes are going to bring to Overwatch fill me with so much hope to see the game that I have loved for nearly a decade return as the staple game that it was in the gaming community. My only concern is it too late? Has the community left Overwatch? Will the competitive scene be as popular as it was? Will the esport bring in the hundreds of thousands of viewers that it used to? Of course, Overwatch is still very popular. Realistically, it isn't going anywhere, and all of these changes will assist in bringing players back to the game and rejuvenating the community. Personally, I think Overwatch will be fine. But a small piece of me thinks back to playing the game in 2017 as a teenager, and I ache for the ability to experience Overwatch at its peak again. Is it nostalgia from a simpler time? Probably, but after the Overwatch 2 Spotlight, I feel a little like I'm 16 again, playing a fun game and making the lifelong friendships I still have today. Do you think that Marvel Rivals is saving Overwatch? And if you do you think it's too late? Thank you so much for watching if you got to this point in the video. I've never made this type of commentary style video before, and I appreciate any feedback or opinions in the comments. If you enjoyed, please subscribe because I do plan on making similar style videos talking about a variety of topics in the gaming world. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.